Do you like fishing gear unboxings? Do you like baitcasters? More specifically, do you like Shimano baitcasters? If you answered yes, then this video is for you. Hello and welcome. What's up, everybody? Thank you for clicking on the video. Justin Royal here, coming back at you with another unboxing video. Today, I'm going to be unboxing a new Shimano fishing reel, a baitcaster, one that I don't already own. This is going to be a new to me baitcaster, but not only that, it's going to be one of the more higher end Shimanos in their entire lineup, one of the more expensive reels that I've personally ever purchased. The second most expensive reel that I've ever bought. And I got it right here, and I'm not gonna waste any more of your time. So let's just get right off into this unboxing. Bought myself a little early Christmas present, okay? I ordered this reel for a specific technique or a specific set of fishing techniques, and I'm looking forward to putting it to the test out there on the water. So let's just get right off into it. As always, I'm gonna be using my Berg Blades Bottle Butcher to do this unboxing. I don't always use the Bottle Butcher, but I always use a Berg Blades blade. Shout outs to Berg Blades. That's not a sponsor, just a friend of mine that makes really good knives. As you can see, this package came from Amazon, and I'm excited. You guys are ready to see what it is? I'm gonna let you see first. Hopefully it's not upside down. It might be, it probably is. Can you see it? All right, here it is, guys. As if you didn't already know from the thumbnail, this is the Shimano Bantam HG, and I'm excited. Never owned a Bantam before. Actually, that's not true. Hang on, I'm gonna go grab it. This right here was like my very first Shimano. I know this for sure was my first Shimano ever, right here. The Bantam Coriolis. Still have this bad boy, still works, a little noisy, but I guarantee you could go out there and make a cast with that. So I lied. Technically, this isn't my first ever Bantam, but this is my first modern day Bantam. This is the Bantam A, Shimano Bantam 150 HGA low profile baitcaster. This model is new to me, and I'm excited. I really loved fishing with that old reel that I just showed you when I was a kid, and I'm excited to see how this one performs. All right, straight out of the box, you know you're gonna get all the paperwork. You're gonna get the reel oil. Speaking of reel oil, you guys wanna see something funny? I got a bunch of Shimano reel oil. I've ordered so many Shimanos since I started this channel. I have so many of their little tubes of reel oil right here in this little bin. I don't use it that often, but I don't think I'm gonna run out anytime soon. But let's go ahead and pull this thing out of the box. Just kidding, I'm not gonna chunk that one. Normally I do the little box chunk. I'm gonna set that down back there. Let's get this thing out of the wrapper. I'm gonna let you see it first. Here we go. There it is, guys. Shimano Bantam 150 HGA. Oh man. It feels nice. Let's go ahead and loosen that spool tension a little bit, or all the way. Very smooth reel, sturdy feeling. Very nice looking reel. It's like a, you know, gunmetal color. It's like maybe a little bit darker than the Metanium, not quite as polished looking. So Shimano designed this reel for a couple different things, but the technique that I specifically got this for, at least right now, deep cranking. It's made to stand up to baits that produce a lot of drag. It's like a heavy duty sort of reel. If you guys want to know like the specific sort of specifications and build details, everything that went into the design and creation of this reel, you can read all of that from Shimano, and I'm sure there are plenty of videos here on YouTube where people really break it down, but that's not exactly how I do my reel unboxings. This is just going to be my unboxing and general first impressions of the Shimano Bantam 150 HG. So it's a 7.1 to 1 gear ratio. Now, like I said, I'm gonna be doing some deep cranking with this bad boy to start, and I personally like burning crankbaits. I have a bunch of 6-to-1 reels that I use for cranking, but I also like to turn and burn, and I will throw cranks on a 7-to-1 or even an 8.5-to-1. I just like getting that reaction bite, and you can totally fish your crankbaits on a 7-to-1, no issue. So now that we have a good look at this bad boy straight out of the box, let's go ahead and get it paired up with a rod and get it spooled up with some line. So the rod, what rod am I gonna put this thing on? I thought about this a little bit and I think I have the perfect one in mind. Like I said, I'm gonna start out using the new Bantam for throwing with deep cranks. Deep cranks like the Cloud 9 series from 6th Sense. This is a C20 or the River to Sea Tactical DD. Deep cranks, burning deep cranks. I might be going on a little deep cranking mission here soon. I may get to put this thing to the test and meet up with a special guest. I hope that happens, and if it does, you know I'll have the cameras rolling. But like I said, deep cranks, that's what we're gonna start out using this thing for. So I'm gonna pair it up with my favorite deep cranking rod. This bad boy right here. This is the 6th Sense Fishing Lux Series Cloud 9 cranker. It's a 7-foot, 11-inch, medium heavy, moderate rod. And this thing right here is awesome for throwing deep cranks. I think it's gonna pair up perfectly. And in the future, we can always bump up the line size and transfer this bad boy over to a different rod. This reel will be good for like heavy punching, throwing like 1 ounce heavier moving baits, like maybe like a 1 ounce spinner bait. But right now we're gonna be doing some deep cranking. So I'm gonna throw this on the 711 medium heavy mod Cloud 9 cranker. And that looks good. What do you guys think? Pairs up pretty nice with that Lux series. This right here is one of my favorite rods that 6th Sense has ever made. I love throwing deep cranks, and this rod right here really helped me fall in love with the deep cranking game. Once I got this rod, it really opened up the doors for me and allowed me to throw those bigger, deeper diving, heavier crankbaits. And I've been in love with it ever since. Caught a lot of really nice fish on this rod. So, since we're deep cranking, I'm gonna be spooling up the new Bantam with 12-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon. Now let's talk about the Seaguar. I get asked all the time what kind of fishing line I use. And you guys have probably heard me here on the channel in the past talk about other brands of fluorocarbon, and it's something I get asked often. What kind of fluorocarbon do you use? People send me DMs all the time asking, and I'm always reluctant to recommend a specific brand. I switched up to Seaguar a while back, and I started putting this stuff to the test. Not only the 12 and the 8-pound, but the 15, 17, 20. I've been putting the Seaguar through the ringer. Fun fact, Seaguar invented fluorocarbon fishing line. It's really been working out great for me. This is the yellow spool, Seaguar and VizX. And this is the stuff that I use on practically all my reels now if I can. I do have a couple larger bulk spools of another brand that I'm sort of phasing out after getting a couple bad spools. But this right here, the Seaguar, has always come in good condition. It's a great quality line, and that's what we're gonna be using to spool up this Bantam 12-pound Seaguar and VizX fluorocarbon for deep cranking. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this spool over here on my line spooler on the bench, and we're gonna get the Bantam loaded up with this 12-pound Seaguar and VizX fluorocarbon. Straight fluoro we're going here. So one thing I like to do when I'm spooling up a new reel is I feed the line all the way through the rod backwards. I go through the line guide on the reel, I tie it to the spool, and I spool up the entire reel with it attached to the rod, just like that. You can totally get it done without the reel being mounted to a rod, but this is how I prefer to do it. It helps keep the proper tension on the line, and everything just goes a lot smoother and a lot more even. I never have any issues with the line getting bunched up more over to one side or the other. I'm able to keep perfect tension on the spool. This is my preferred method. All right, so I've got my line fed through the line guides on the rod, got it through the line guide on the reel. I've got the line fed through the holes on the skeletonized spool. Now I'm gonna tie an arbor knot. That's the knot that I use when I'm securing my line to the spool. Fun fact, the spool is actually referred to as an arbor, the arbor knot. All right, I have the line secured to the spool with an arbor knot. Now, the only thing left to do is tighten that drag down, spool this sucker up. Here we go. Turning and burning. It's deep cranking time. So a couple other techniques that I have in mind for, like I said, it's made for like heavier baits. It's like beefed up reel. You can use it for anything really, I'm sure. Heavy jigs, heavy punching. So this reel would pair up nicely with the Heater Series Swim Bait Special, the 7/8 extra heavy fast. It would also do really good for throwing like heavy 1 ounce spinner baits or even like 1 ounce swim jigs. So we could up the line size and use this thing for a multitude of techniques. I'm just gonna start out deep cranking with it, see how I like it, see how it handles that heavy drag from those big, deep crankbaits. Pro tip, or I don't know if it's a pro tip, but it's a tip, okay? I'm not a pro. I'm an amateur to intermediate bass angler here. I'm learning right along with you guys, but I know a lot of you do watch these videos and you end up getting a little bit of educational value out of them. So this is something that I learned. Fill your spool up all the way, maximum capacity on the spool. Why? Because the spool was designed and engineered to function with a full spool of line. I know not everyone runs a full spool, but you will get better casting distance, better casting accuracy. Your reel will perform better if you fill it all the way up with line. Plus, when you're cranking, you're gonna have to retie a lot, especially with 12-pound fluorocarbon. So you wanna get that maximum capacity. It's a 150 size spool, so it's not huge, but it's not small like the 70 size reels that I use. I'm gonna fill this sucker all the way up. You don't wanna overdo it, but you want it right there to the top. Plus, I wanna be able to bomb those crankbaits out there and get them down as far as I can. We're getting close. All right, that's about good right there. All right, so now we got the new Bantam spooled up with fresh 12-pound Seagar and Vizex fluorocarbon. The only thing left to do is tie a bait on. I've got one of my deep cranking boxes right here. So let's go ahead and pick us a bait. I think I'm gonna go with either a C10 or a C15. I think a C15 in shad scales is gonna be about perfect for this setup to start. Let's go ahead and get this Warlock secured to this Invizex, and then maybe we'll head down to the lake, make a couple casts from the bank, and get our first impressions on how this reel casts and feels winding this deep crankbait. Chunking and winding, burning plugs. The plug is the drug. I'm gonna use a San Diego jam, 8 wraps on my jam. Why San Diego jam? That's the knot that I use like 99.10% of the time. Because, no, it's got really good knot strength. Has yet to fail on me. I prefer the San Diego jam for most of my fishing situations. Every once in a while, I'll tie the old Palomar knot, but this one right here, that's my favorite. So now we got a C15 secured to the end of our 711 Cloud 9 cranker. They designed this rod for baits like this right here. Got it laced up with the new Bantam. The only thing left to do now is to go down to the water and make a couple casts. So let's do that. I'm gonna be throwing this thing from the bank, so I'm gonna have to be careful. We're not trying to catch a fish. We're just trying to get our honest first impressions of the Bantam. So at the beginning, you guys saw me, I loosened the spool tension and the brakes come set from the factory at 1. So I am, in the name of not backlashing this Warlock, gonna roll those brakes up to about halfway. Let's see, the brakes go to 6, which is max, so I'll run them around 3 or 4, and that's just gonna make sure that I don't blow up the spool on the first cast. And yeah, we'll just go from there. I'll dial those brakes back as I get used to the reel, but I'm always gonna run personally, I'm always gonna run my spool tension on like 0. It's just the way I prefer it. Not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying you try it once and your reel will feel so smooth, and as long as it's not making any noise, you should be good to go. So I pretty much just back it all the way off to where the tension on the spool is extremely loose. Let's go take a couple casts with the new Bantam. Man, it looks pretty good laced up on that Cloud 9 cranker with that C15 shad scale. Is my favorite color on the Cloud 9 series. One of my favorite crankbait colors, period. Just a nice white shad with those realistic iridescent scales. Got that gray back, and I've caught a lot of fish on this color. So that's the setup. That's the new cranking setup. That's the new Shimano 150A HG 7.1:1 gear ratio. It has the infinity drive. If you guys want to learn anything else about this reel other than the fact that it's made in Japan, if you guys want to know all the technical specifications, the ins and outs, the odds and ends, you can go read about it. But there's one more look at it. Let's go down to the lake and make a couple casts. One thing that I would like to note before we take off is that it's a heavy duty reel, you know, like I said, made to stand up to like heavy drag, and it's like a beefed up Shimano, internally at least, but this feels like a really extremely light setup. Like you can crank with this all day long. It's not much weight to this. It's gonna be really comfortable. I can already tell. Fits in the hand perfectly. The new Bantam All right, let's go to the lake. All right, here's a look at what we're gonna be driving down to the lake. We don't have much daylight left, so I gotta hurry. But you guys haven't seen the golf cart in a while, so I figured I'd show it to you really quick. Let's go, Blueberry. It's cold. We're here. We made it. We're there, man. Woo! Just go, man. One thing about that is my fingers are now freezing. So I'm gonna cast around right here at the boat ramp. Give me the access to the deepest water. Try not to lose my crankbait. But here we go. First cast, first impressions with the new Bantam. Let's check it out. Okay. It could have been a little better on my part, but it feels really smooth. I'm gonna reel this really slow, get this crankbait back in, loosen that spool tension a little bit more. Don't want to lose my crank on the first cast. Have my spool tension way too tight. All right, but it feels really smooth. Loosen that tension a lot more. Let's try this out again. Oh yeah, that's more like it. Almost backlashed it. My thumbs are freezing. I could barely feel the reel. Let's bump those brakes up just a little bit more. What if I caught one? Wouldn't that be crazy? It feels so smooth. I'm just trying to keep that crankbait from digging into the bottom of the boat ramp and getting snagged. We'll be giving this thing a proper on the water test soon. Like I said, I might have some deep cranking trips coming up here shortly. Let's make another cast. Oh yeah, there it is. There we go. Bombed it. Super smooth. Got it out there far enough to where I could actually reel on this crankbait for a second. Dude, it feels so good. All right, now we're hitting the bottom. Gotta be careful. That's one thing about the deep cranks. You sort of need a boat. You can't really be chunking the deep divers from the bank too much. Unless you got a bluff wall or something, you can fish parallel down. But I must say, first impressions on the Bantam, super smooth. That right there was the kind of cast I was looking for. Those first two were kind of bunk on my part. And I feel like I've sort of got her dialed. I'm gonna bump those brakes back off just a little bit, make another cast. I've got some decent wind here, so dealing with the wind a little bit. But let's huck it, chuck it football one more time. Oh yeah, oh yeah. That was by far the longest cast. No problem. Feels really good. Feels really good burning that crank. Dude, I can't wait to go deep cranking now. Awesome, awesome. It's freaking cold. The wind is ripping, my hands are numb. So we're gonna head back to the house and we'll talk about this reel, give our final first impressions and one more up close look at the new Shimano Bantam Infinity Drive HG. Awesome. What if we caught one on the last cast? That would be sick. All right, feels great with the C15, but it's windy and it's freezing freaking cold, dude. It's like, it's gotta be like, I don't know. I'm not even gonna say a temperature because then everybody from up north will be like, that's not cold. But it's cold. It's Texas and it's cold. Come on, Blueberry. Blueberry, the June buggy. We gotta get out of here. Skirt! Off we go. I'll see you guys back at the house. All right, now that we're back at the house, let's talk about it one more time. So first impressions, honest first impressions. First couple casts were a little rough on my part, but once I got the brakes dialed in the way I like, it felt really nice. Was dealing with a little bit of wind. It was probably like 10 to 12 mile per hour winds down there right now. Didn't seem to affect it too much. I was able to bomb the C15 straight out into the lake, no issue. And it felt really smooth when I was reeling it in. One thing that I noticed is that the setup is really light. With it being like a stronger, more reinforced reel that's designed to handle the heavier baits, it felt really light and comfortable in the hand. I love that it has the Metanium style button on the reel. Love the color. Yes, color matters, you know. Does it look cool? I'm a guy, I like guy things. I like things that look cool, and this reel looks freaking cool. So I've got the brakes right now on 4. They go up to 6. Like I said, a little bit of wind, but 0 spool tension. The first cast felt really sort of gummy or muddy, and I could tell that I still had that spool tension locked down quite a bit. So I backed that off just about all the way, like I said, and running the brakes on 4 out there in the wind, the reel performed perfectly. Just had to thumb it just a little bit. I like to control the spool with my thumb. If you're just starting out on a baitcaster, do the old traditional style setup. You know, tighten the spool tension down to where the bait falls slow, blah, blah, blah. I personally like to run my reels with no spool tension, but you guys out there probably have a different preference, and I'm sure there will be some Shimano professional down in the comments telling me that that's all wrong, and that's okay. Honest first impressions on the Bantam. I like it. I like it a lot. Do I love it? Remains to be seen. I cannot wait to get out there and really use it. I can't wait to make some casts off the boat, really start burning these crankbaits out deep, see if we can hook into a monstro. But that is gonna go ahead and wrap up this unboxing and first impressions video of the new Shimano Bantam 150A 7.1 to 1 gear ratio, and I'm excited to put the thing to use here on the channel. If you like this video, if you got anything out of it, or if you want to see me use that reel for deep cranking, make sure you subscribe and stick around. I appreciate you all for taking time out of your day to watch this video, but that's about all I got for you today. That about does it. That about wraps her on up. So I'm gonna say goodbye for now, and I'll see you in the next one.